just being reappointed to the board.
Reappointed.
And great people, have a lot of knowledge of the history, and that's why we like having them on the board. They know what's been going on. We still need 2 in the ETJ, 2 members, so we need to really push that if we can.
I think
But I
nobody's
appreciate-
applied.
Nobody, and not, as far as I know, nobody has. So we still need 2 from the ETJ.
I mean,
They don't
Chris,
have
have to, but it'd be nice to
It'd be
know.
nice to. Usually they will, but
Right,
it's
because
all
you'll
on
kind of
their
have to recommend them when they go to the county or make sure.
No,
they're-
they fill out an application that goes
Okay.
to the county, and then
Okay.
the county will
It's
send it to us, and then
just a
they'll
good
vote.
thing for us to know, for them to know.
Yeah, if we
so-
can keep that in the forefront, because we really need to get those 2 seats filled.
Okay.
And Craig's not here tonight, I don't think.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay.
So you'll just need a motion, the approval of
Yep.
those 3 applicants, and then I think we're gonna go ahead and swear in those that are here tonight.
Okay. So, any questions? You guys good? Just went over the application and everything? Okay. Do I have a motion to accept Craig Baker, Brian Baird, and Lauren Malott?
I'll make a motion.
Victoria, motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
David, second. All in favor, raise your right hand, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I guess, Brian and Lori need to come up front, right?
Yep. Then go ahead and swear them in.
Yep. You gonna get sworn in? We'll catch Craig on another go around.
Sure.
Support and
The
maintain
Constitution and laws of the United States
the Constitution and the laws of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina
and the Constitution and laws of North
and
Carolina
the laws of Town of Drexel,
and the laws of the Town of Drexel,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therewith,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of my position on the Town of Drexel Planning Board.
of my position on the Town of Drexel Planning Board
And the Town of Drexel Board of Aldermen.
and the Town of Drexel Board. No,
Adjustments.
adjustments.
If you'll just sign this for me real quick. Trying to give y'all another version. There you go. Thank you. I state your name.
I, Brian Baird,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and maintain
that I will support and maintain the laws of North Carolina
and the laws of the Town of Drexel,
and the laws of the Town of Drexel,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therewith,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of my position on the Town of Drexel Planning Board.
of my position.
Correct. One, Mr. Klein.
All right, Scott, if you will, go ahead and read that for me. Time is allotted on the agenda for members of the public to make a comment. Everyone is allowed 3 minutes to speak and must state his or her name and address for the record. The board should not engage with the commenter during this time, but can direct staff to follow up. If further discussion of the topic is deemed necessary, the board may vote to place the item on the agenda. Speakers must maintain decorum during comments and should not discuss election or candidacy.
Charles Ricky Klein, 500 Oakland.
3 minutes.
Take place the 30th of May, which you have voted to let it take place. And my understanding is that the group from Grover Drexel has applied for an alcohol permit. Have they received that yet?
I don't.
We don't typically engage in
Yeah, we
public
don't.
comment,
Okay.
but we'll be happy to answer afterward.
Okay, I'm gonna read this that I saw on April 11th in the newspaper, local paper. As Drexel prepares for ACEs and AIDS concern on May the 30th to the downtown event, we should be able to do something else besides sell alcohol. While the nonprofit still has to apply for a permit through the Alcohol Beverage Commission, the plan is to sell beer and saucers that would want a drink would need to show identification, and they would be limited on drinks, according to Grover Drexel President Dan Hoyle, which he is present. While the group is still working out logistics, Hoyle said there will be a way to track how many drinks, and individual purchases, whether through tickets or bracelets. Carroll noted that the downtown park will be sectioned off 3 entry points. Drexel police officers will be monitoring the event. Aces and Eights will have another concert in October the 17th, and I'll make that short. They will have to apply for another permit. What I don't understand, what you folks have voted for, you're gonna have to live with this decision. This is a community that does not need that. And I know you've done voted it in, but think about what you do in days to come. You're affecting a lot of people, including me. Just remember, you'll have your time. My statement to you is don't do this again. Please don't, because you're asking for trouble. Our law enforcement don't need this. You folks were not here when we had trouble downtown with a local bar. I mean, it was unbelievable. I don't want to go into that, that's past history. Let's don't do this. We're setting a bad reputation with our community. For our young people, they don't need this. And I don't care how many bracelets you've got or how you monitor this thing. If somebody leaves here drunk, they have an automobile accident, who's gonna be responsible? Okay? Think about what you do. I've been in your place before. I know what it's all about. That's all I have to say about the situation, but this next event comes up, and I'm hoping that they do not get a permit for this month. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Rick. Okay, next is number 5, unfinished business, Drexel Industrial Site. Before you get started,
Sure.
I want to comment, Miss Maddie, on that the awesome article you put in there Saturday. That was really nice. It really helped out. I hope it brings some light to what we're doing.
If you haven't seen it,
There it is. If you don't have the paper, please get it and read it, or read it online. But, yeah, it was a very good article.
Yep.
Okay, go
So
ahead.
yeah, I'll take the update from here, and I was gonna mention the article, so thanks to the paper for running that. I think, the project is a very positive project for the community, so I don't think there's, any question in that, but I think, with the media's participation in helping get that to the front page is good, so everybody knows what's going on, because you often hear questions, what's going over there, what's going over there? No matter how much we talk about it, some people still don't understand or don't know what's going on, so I think the social media impact of that article, as well as those who get the physical media, that's going to go a long way for helping inform folks about what's going on. And we're got the foot on the gas on that. And as far as the update for the site itself goes, not much has changed since last month, other than some grass started growing finally, thanks to some rain. We need a lot more, but that at least is helping bring that site together. Roger and I are talking about potentially doing some split rail fencing along the front of the business park. It would look really nice. Split rail fencing is like the wooden fencing that looks nice going across there, but it also would help to keep vehicles off of it, because we did have a couple instances of folks decided to drive out there. We just want to keep folks safe and not tear anything up if we can help it. So it'd be a deterrent, but also it would look nice. And it'd be easily removable, so we're looking into that. But other than that, unless there's questions.
No, I think I've said this until I'm blue in the face, and I'll keep saying it. That place is not for low-come-in housing, apartments, or anything. Our grants were industrial grants, and that's what's going on there. There's gonna be hopefully at least 2 industries on that site. But, I don't know if they just don't read things or look at things, but I get that question, well, when's the housing development, or when's apartments coming onto the site? That's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. We got industry that, with this new guy, Brandon Rupp with the BDI, Al done a great job. We appreciate what Al done, but this guy's, I think he's kind of put it's hard to believe, but he's probably even put a little bit of a Spitfire in Bill.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the 2 of them together, that's gonna be some awesome stuff, I think, so. But, yeah, industries is gonna be coming to Drexel. That's what we're going for, so, all right, thank you, sir. Anybody else want to say, got anything on that? Nope, okay. All right, approval of Timothy Doula's blockade grant.
Yeah, and I'll start that one, Mayor. So, I received about a month ago an application for a facade grant at, oh my gosh, let me make sure, 112 South Main Street, which is in the downtown block here. It's been vacant for a long time. The facade grant was to repair the windows of that unit. It's now, I think it's boarded up with plywood currently, so, and in fact, the plywood may actually have been taken down, but the grant is to complete that work. The only caveat here is that the grant requested the facade grant up front, so that'd be $2,300 up front. For that, they have a quote of that work, and they are also not offering any matching funds to that. They're just requesting the town offer that grant without any matching funds. That's not currently approved through our rules. However, I let the applicant know I'd at least bring it to the board for consideration, and I just wanted to bring that forward. And you can take action, you can not take action, and it'll be completely up to the board. And I can answer any questions I can.
Can I call Mike, Kathy?
If you would like to, it's up to you.
Mike and Kathy, can you come forward, please? Yeah, you're in trouble. No,
Not to put you on the spot.
no, I'm not going. You guys have pretty much been helping the dealers with this ordeal, right, with this?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Because I see that it's Scott Drexel First Baptist for the estimate, and do you help on that part of it, Mike? Is that what you're doing?
They wrote the estimate, we were at the food giveaway, and
Oh,
the
okay.
person wrote the estimate and just happened to put that on there, but it's not through the church, no, sir.
Okay, all right.
Because we were at the food giveaway and we brought the estimate over.
I'm gonna compliment you both on, there's 2 buildings downtown, if you have noticed, have been painted, and Mike's painted both of them, just out of volunteer, and Kathy's helped too, out of volunteering, and I appreciate you doing that. That showed, I mean, I already knew how much you guys,
Glass has been installed, iteration on this.
yeah, all right.
We're not, that's why we're waiting to do that, to get the glass in
Right.
first.
First, and
And then we want to help them with their next steps, that they have some dreams and plans they'd love to do, and
Okay.
it's a very needy, very needy situation.
Now,
We're
this isn't with Grove through Drexel, this is just you.
Yes,
This is
sir.
not, that's just you guys helping out.
Friends
I
helping
want
friends,
everybody to
that's
understand that, and I really appreciate that. You guys have showed a lot of dedication.
Well,
Thank you.
we're just looking for just, in their situation, just grace and mercy, because it's a very dire
Well, I
situation.
tell you what, that food thing is really growing, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
And it's awesome. I think one heck of a line coming around that church on Wednesday.
Yes, sir, it is.
Isn't it Wednesday, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you, guys, I appreciate it. Okay, guys, you have anything?
So what are we doing now?
It's up to you. You can approve the grant as requested, approve with conditions. I would recommend, if you do approve it, the condition being that upon request, getting the invoicing, paid invoices, and proof of construction, which is downtown, so we would see it happen, but making sure that all the invoices are in proper order. And I would handle that.
So here's my thought. You gotta be careful how we give money away. We've got a standard, the way we do it. This is not a lot of money, it's not more than the 2,500. So I kinda understand the idea of listening to a different amount of money. But we can't get into being the town that fixes every building all the way across. Now, with that said, would it be of value if we ask Mike and Tim to come back again and say, I've got a game plan, because I don't wanna fix a building that's not gonna have anybody in it. If you could say, come back to me and say, we're gonna fix this building and then we're gonna clean it out. It's gonna be ready for a tenant in 6 months, or something like that. Then that makes me more lenient to change the game plan a little bit. That means that maybe something's gonna happen in that building rather than we just replace the windows and it stays as a storage unit. You see what I'm saying?
Do you have anything on that about what they've done?
Kathy has, she and I both together work as a team.
All
She
right,
has.
go ahead, if you wanna add.
And so, and they have dreams, you know, and we have told them we would love to help them with next steps, you know, with what's inside the building. And so we're willing to do that and see them through, because they want to have an antique shop. I mean, that's their dream. They want to have that. And so, I really wish you would consider every situation differently. Every situation is not the same in downtown Drexel. So every situation is different, and I think you heard that from the letter that was read last month. So I just really would ask you to take that into consideration as well. So, yes, we're willing to help see through this project, what they want to do with their property.
What I would like to recommend is rather than voting on it tonight or turning it down or approving it, come back with a game plan so we can talk amongst us. I mean, work out a game plan so we know what the timetable is. You know, what is, you've heard their plan, we have not. You know, that's the first time I'd heard about an antique plan, which is fine. And it's not a matter of me judging what they do, but at least having a game plan so we can say, these are the goals that we're headed toward.
I'm pretty sure that was in the letter that was submitted, that they wanted to have a business within.
I thought I heard a thrift shop.
It didn't specify, I don't
It
think.
didn't specify that.
Mhm.
I'm just looking for some particulars, some specifics, so that if we look at things differently, we're gonna have a reason to look at it differently. Otherwise, you're gonna get, well, he did it for him, why don't you do it for me? And that's not a place that the town wants to be in, having those kind of fingers pointed back and forth, going, you know, you gave him so much money, why don't you give me so much money? Or you turned me down, why did you turn me down? Sure, yeah.
I do believe with all my heart that every scenario is a case-by-case basis on what the scenario, the situation is. I looked at that way my whole life through church life as far as benevolence and everything else. If somebody comes to us with a bank account's got $1 million in it and wants 100% help, no, because they got the money. Person comes to you that's in dire straits, it's got medical bills coming left and right, and can't physically do anything, they're overwhelmed, they inherit. It's a case-by-case basis. And I feel like, personally, I feel like by doing something, you're not setting a standard or a precedent, you're saying, we're extending grace and mercy where grace and mercy is needed, and we're doing a case-by-case basis. It's not setting a precedent. So I just think you can't take it case by case, and that's my conviction, that's my personal opinion, and I'll leave it at that.
I have a comment. I get where David's coming from, of like, obviously, it's downtown, we wanna know what's gonna be there. I got to know Mr. Dula a little bit during his time at Carolina Rehab. You know, he mentioned it in his letter, so I can say that it's not my situation to share, and I can't share certain things that I know, but I think that their situation is a unique situation, and I do think it would be long-term worth the investment to help them out. At the end of the day, this amount of money to us and what is insignificant compared to what it could do for them, and then eventually what it could lead to in that building. I think it's a small investment. I 100% hear where you're coming from with like setting the precedent, wanting to know what's going on, and I think we can absolutely still, if, I don't know if his wife is physically able, but if they're able to come in and speak to us about what they want to do, that's awesome, because I also want to know. I'd love a good antique shop, so I'm down for that. But me personally, from what I know about the situation and the time that I got to know them at Carolina Rehab, I think it would be worth approving their request with the bill's condition.
Mike, would you guys be kind of in charge of that? I mean, or are you, or are you willing to do that? In order to get Bill the receipts and stuff that he would need?
I've already turned in everything from Quality Glass.
Huh?
I've already turned in every quote.
Yeah, but I'm talking about when the work is done and what he's wanting for.
Yes, absolutely. We
Are y'all planning on helping him with that portion of it? Is that what you?
We're gonna work with them to the end. We're committed.
All the way through?
Kathy and I are very committed to them all the way
As long as you get the receipts.
Yeah, no, I would just want to verify that the purchase has been completed and there's paperwork and a paper trail. That'd be, and that would be easy to get. It'd be as simple as when they complete the work, get an invoice paid, and like that, just to make sure that there's a paper trail. That'd be my only concern. Because if you're doing it up front, because these are typically reimbursement grants, so typically you pay back. So the work has been completed, the work has been paid. In this instance, if we make this exception, the work has not been completed. So in essence, you're cutting a check for something that may or may not happen depending on the next step. So we would certainly want to verify the work gets completed and paid, and that no vendors are mad and say, oh, the town of Drexel didn't pay for this, when they promised they would. And I don't expect that to happen, but just for bookkeeping purposes, we would want to make sure we do that.
Hey, Bill?
Yeah.
Kathy and I were just talking that the work will be done we'll get the work done prior to final payment for the installment of the glass. And I would let you know, the estimate you have there, Kathy spent, I can't tell you how many phone calls, calling glass companies and waiting on people to come by, waiting on getting an estimate. We had, 3 quotes. We had my wait from 6,000 to, this person's done work downtown and they heard the situation and they were more than happy and they're really cutting bare bones. They got a great reputation and they're willing to help. They're great Christian people. So Kathy did a lot of legwork on that and did a wonderful job tracking the assessment out of each one it is now.
So you're gonna get the work completed and then want the money for after you get it completed, is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, anybody else, Scott?
And just to clarify, we would not pay the invoice directly.
Right.
This would be paid to doula, the doulas, and then they would pay the invoice. Correct.
Could I have opportunity to address that situation?
Up to the mayor.
Say what?
Can I have opportunity to address that situation?
Yeah, go ahead.
I agree with what Mike said, different situations downtown. But you folks are gonna run into a problem. When you help this group out, you're gonna get all kind of flack down the street down here. Why didn't you help us out? And I agree with what Mike said, they're different situations. You better think about it. Better think about it, because you're gonna have somebody at your doorstep. We've been down that road before.
Yeah.
Was at one time, we allotted them $2,500 to dress the front of the building. Am I not correct on that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That got the awnings on
And some of them didn't even take the 2,500. I'm just saying, you're gonna get into a situation.
The awnings on 9 was through a grant, through
Oh, okay.
the $10,000 beautification.
Oh,
grant for
okay,
road
my
trades.
bad, I
I just
misunderstood.
want to clarify that.
No problem, that's fine, thank you. Okay, so what do you guys wanna do? That's up to y'all, how you wanna do it.
I think David's got a good point. I'm all for helping them. I love a good antique store. But I wanna know the plan. Just, I can ask for money, but I'd like to see a plan, a little more detail.
I agree. That too.
All right, can you guys get us maybe a little more detailed plan on what's gonna go on over there?
Sure.
Maybe if I'm understanding correctly, just so you guys have clear guidance, maybe like a roadmap, timeline, installation of windows happens this month, opening or cleaning out the store happens this month, is that kind of?
Kind of step by step how it's.
Yeah, and I don't need a date, but, in the next 6 months.
Yeah.
I wouldn't hold you to the actual month, but give us a general timeline that says, we're gonna take 3 months. I don't even know what's in there. I've never been in it, but I heard it's full, so it may take a while.
Kathy and I'll be glad to do that, and also I think what we're looking at too, I realize what you're saying about plan, we can talk about that, but you're also talking about a great way to make our street look.
Oh, 100% agree with you on that.
And I just think that, again, we'll do this, and I appreciate operating in grace and mercy, appreciate that, we'll work with them on the plan.
Yeah. I guess you want to table
I would say we table it till next month.
it? You want to think about tabling it until next month? Can we get some of the info?
That sounds good.
Good. All right, do I have a motion to, we can vote on that?
Yes.
Do I have a motion to table this until next month?
I'll make a motion.
Victoria, motion, do I have a second?
I second.
David, second. All in favor, raise your right hand, say aye. Aye. All right, thank you, guys. All right, what do we got next coming up? New business, okay. Approval of internal control policy, ARPA, AIA requirements. That's you, I guess.
That's me, yes. So, about almost 2 years ago now, as part of our AIA grant through the NCDEQ ARPA funding, which is COVID-related funding. If you can believe we're still working on spending down COVID-related funding at the state level. That funding required several policies. The board adopted a slew of policies at that time, and seemingly everything was fine. About 6 months ago, maybe, Kristen? Maybe not even that long ago, like 3 or 4 months ago. The NCDEQ let us know that the internal control policy that they had sent us to adopt was not correct, the correct one, and that we needed to adopt a new policy, which is the one I have for consideration tonight. So this is just a policy that talks about how we spend money related to the ARPA funding. And the reason we have to adopt policies specifically for that funding is because it's federal dollars related to the COVID pandemic. And there was a lot of red tape and a lot of lawyers put together the regulations there. So we're just trying to make sure that we're falling in line with what those regulations require. So this policy gets us to that next step, even though we've about expended all that money related to that fund. So that's all it is. To make sure that our funding partners have what they need to be compliant.
Just an updated policy, basically.
Correct.
Did they say what the difference was exactly, or was it just a different version, or?
I think it was a version related to a different type, like some CDBG funding, and it wasn't related to the ARPA funding.
Okay.
I think the person whom we were working with accidentally sent an incorrect document, which we wouldn't have known because we were just like, hey, adopt these policies, and we're like, okay, we'll review them and adopt them. They apologized for that, and they said, hey, that's our fault, and they sent us this new policy to adopt. And literally, this policy will only affect that funding. It doesn't affect anything
That we
else.
already spent anyway.
Well, mostly.
Most of it anyway.
Which we only have one contractor, we just have an engineering contractor for that. So it's not like it's a complicated construction project with subs and all that, it's just a single partner. So I'll ask for the approval on that, Mayor.
Anybody else do anything? All right, do I have a motion to accept the policy?
I'll make a motion.
Jennifer makes a motion, do I have a second? Second. Scott, second, all in favor, raise your right hand, say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you, guys. Okay, approval of ordinance to demolish 200 Park Avenue. Is that you, Mr. Kevin?
Yes, sir.
Come on up. Now, you're talking about these duplexes right up
The ones
here,
that were,
right?
yep, the ones that had caught on fire back in January.
Right.
So before we begin, the actual owner is here tonight. That's
Oh,
Sandra
okay.
Blakeney. If you allow her to speak, that's up to you. I told her you may not. But at this point, with the ordinance, I'm gonna go forward that we demolish it.
Okay.
I don't know exactly what she'll say or not say, but based on the time that's involved, based on the conditions, obviously it's had been closed by the fire marshal, unsafe, deemed unsafe, all the structure, the water damage, the fire damage, the fact that nothing's been upgraded or improved over many, many years, that this place is gonna have to be demolished. I have bid packets that's already been emailed out to demolition crews, so some folks may see people coming in, looking around, but they're getting their estimates. They have until next Monday, the 18th, to turn those in, since we had the actual deadline for that properties today, that they would have a chance to get their costs, see what it would take, get it back to me, and then go forward with the board. But my recommendation is to go forward with it. Yeah.
What is her name again?
It's Sandra Blakeney.
Okay, Ms. Blake, come on up for me.
I had a question for you first.
Go ahead, yeah, Kevin.
When was the fire? How long has it been? Since
January the 20th.
about 5 months almost.
Yeah, and we turned everything in, started the paperwork. I hand delivered the paperwork to Miss Blakeney, and I spoke to her about get this property sold, get this property demolished. So at this point, we've come to the deadline today, so it needs to take place.
Ms. Blakely, we'll give you about 3 minutes, huh? if that's possible.
Yeah, well, I have somebody who wants to buy it,
Uh-huh.
and we've agreed on a price and everything, but he's in Japan right now for another week.
Okay.
And so I don't know, I guess you gotta do what you gotta do, but,
Well, it's gotta come down, there's no way around it. The building's gotta come down,
yeah, yeah.
there's no way around that. But that will take some time, won't it, Kevin?
So when the contracts bids come in and the ordinance is signed, as soon as that individual that takes whatever you choose, when that's set, they'll schedule a day. It could be a Saturday, it could be a Tuesday, but it'll be based on that contractor's time frame. Could be less than a week, could be less than a week, could be up to 2 weeks, depending on their schedule.
Now, the cost will go to the owner, right?
Yes, we would, I mean, the town would bear the upfront burden, and then we put a lien on the property.
So if you put a lien on it, can she sell it?
She can still sell it.
And that,
That would be
they
just-
would take up the lien on.
Yeah, I mean, that would have to be negotiated in closing. They would either the buyer would just pay it as part of their costs, or they would want to sell it. I mean, it'd be negotiated.
But it should be clean and clear when they do sell it. So somebody, once you get paid when they sell it.
Yeah.
If we
So,
already did.
yeah, the building, they're gonna have to come down, and whoever is owner at the time will have to pay that. And, you know, it may not be, I mean, it may be longer than a week before that happens.
Well, he's already gotten bids on demolishing it.
Oh,
The
okay.
guy who wants to buy it owns the apartments right
Oh,
behind it.
Okay.
So he wants,
Okay, he walking out, I think he's got the plans for the whole thing. if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
but he's in Japan right now.
Okay.
But my question is, between now and before it gets demolished, can I transfer the deed to him?
I mean, you can sell it whenever you want to. It's your property.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, in other words, yes, you can transfer the deed.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, right, Kevin?
Be careful.
I'm
We're
not a
talking
real
about lawyer
estate
stuff.
agent.
We're not a real estate
Yeah,
agent. Be careful what you say.
that's a good caveat. We aren't attorneys.
If I was a real estate agent, I wouldn't be code enforcement. but
Well, I am
can't
a
answer
real
that.
estate agent.
Okay, yeah, we don't really.
But,
I assume that's something that would be
We may want
disclosed
to
in due
retract that a little
diligence.
bit and check with the lawyer on that.
Yeah, that's all we can tell you is to check with your realtor and your lawyer,
Yeah.
whether you can do that.
Yeah.
but, I mean, if I transfer the deed to him before the demolition starts and everything, and then because he's gotten bids already, because we had one price and we didn't come together on it, but then he got a lower price on the demolishing,
Okay.
so we came together.
Right.
But he wouldn't, I'm just not sure,
Okay.
would
Well, check,
would you,
check,
if like, what's today? Today is Monday.
yeah,
Let's say we transferred a deed on Friday,
okay.
okay? Because I think he said you have to have the bids in by next Monday, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's say we transferred the deed on Friday. Then you wouldn't go ahead with the demolishing, would you? I mean, he would hire the people that he got the bid from.
So what would happen if that took place? The new owner would receive new paperwork, which is a whole nother start of months for the new owner. She would be completely removed from it as resolved, because she did sell the property. From there, he would have 90 to 95 days to start his process. I have been in contact with the gentleman she's talking about. He tried earlier through this whole process. It kind of went stale. I contacted him while he's been in Japan, and at this point, there's no agreement. I haven't heard back from him since last week, so I don't even know if he's in the country right now. But she would be fully removed, and then the process of the paperwork would start fresh with him. I do believe his goal would be to tear it down, but there again, we start all over at ground zero.
So, if I'm understanding you right, Kevin, whatever we do, it's irrelevant to what she does. We need to, I mean, if we go ahead and agree to continue the process, tear it down, if she sells it, that's on her, that's her agreement to restart the clock. But if we sit here and wait.
She don't restart it, she's done
Yeah,
Yeah.
the clock gets restarted.
for the new owner.
Correct.
Correct.
So if we sit here and wait, there's no advantage to us to wait.
Right.
She can do whatever she wants to do, and we don't really affect her. But if we wait, then we've waited another 30 days to start the process. Say the whole deal goes bad, and she's still holding it, we've granted 30 days for no real reason.
Correct.
Right.
Does the ordinance to demolish become kind of, if she were to sell
It becomes resolved. I would have to tell the person that won the bid, hold off, there's been a transaction. They may not ever do another bid for the town, but, because it's almost like taking money from them, you know, once they put their name out there. But she would be out of the picture. The new owner will be given the right by the ordinance of the state, not the ordinance of the demolished, but by the minimum housing ordinance. And then they would have that time frame to get it demolished, et cetera. And whatever bids that she is referring to, if the town goes with that, so be it, but that would definitely be on him at that point.
So it,
Is that
so it
clear?
gets demolished one way or the other,
Yes, is that, I mean, that's clear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so you need to check your lawyer and your realtor on that, the deed transfer. And, you know, that's nothing we have anything to do with. That's between you and them. So you take care of that, and then we can go from there. Now, Kevin, the bids, the 18th is the deadline.
That's next Monday. Mhm.
And how quick after the bids, or
So
you still
what'll
have to decide who wins the bid?
Yep,
right?
so that'll be what this board has to decide. So if you get the 4 numbers in, you pick the one, make that reference to me, I'll make the reference to the construction person or company, whatever it's under, and then they'll set it up based on their time. I don't know their schedule. They may have 3 jobs in front of us right now, or they could do it the next weekend, whatever their timeline is.
So the bid did not have a deadline with it.
The time frame to get the bid in, yes, but not a time to
Completion
do
of
it.
the work is not.
Correct.
Deadline for that.
Right.
Okay.
So you may have more than a week to
Yeah,
do whatever.
it could be 30 days if that particular person that wins already has jobs in place.
Yeah.
That just might be
That
where
may
they're,
just give her time to do what she needs to do.
and
get go.
that's unknown at
Okay.
this
Well,
point.
30 days
Chief,
out.
you got something? You stood up.
Yeah, this.
Yeah. This is
Your bid, demo bids,
Approved.
did they
Doesn't
include
do
cleanup
it.
the entire parcel?
Yes.
It's
It's
You got the little tent city, you got the car broke down out there.
So-
So see if that's gonna fall back on Roger, his guys.
Right, so-
Clean up too, so that's what Steve does.
Chief's question was, what was covered? And so on the bid packet, there's some check marks, which I don't have one with me and I didn't print a blank one off, but there's some check marks about clearing the property, there's a shed in the back of it, having it removed, all the debris off the ground, and then having it leveled. There is a walk space that's underneath it, so there'll have to be some backfill from ductwork, different things, obviously water standing, but that lot would become level, and then from there it'd be turned over to the town, unless this transaction goes through.
Okay.
Yep,
All right.
good question.
So if you want to proceed with the demolition, you'll need to vote to approve the ordinance to demolish. But David was asking me earlier that we still have to vote on the bids. when they
So
come in.
nothing's gonna happen before 30 days anyway.
No,
So,
no.
this,
Okay, well, yeah. Okay, do I have a motion on approving the ordinance for the demolition of 200 Park Avenue?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Victoria's second. All in favor from right hand, say aye.
I have a question. Once you get the bids and all,
Uh-huh.
and you have to agree on which bid you're going with, is that at your next meeting, or is that,
Yes.
that would be at your
At the
next meeting?
which is June 1st, if I'm not mistaken.
Uh-huh.
Is that right?
Okay.
That's all right.
June second.
Second.
June 2nd.
June 2nd, okay, yeah, it'll be June 2nd, will be the next, yeah, we'd have to approve the bids at that meeting.
Uh-huh, okay.
Yep.
So
All right.
really, any time between now and then, I could transfer the
Yeah,
deed?
yeah, well, check with your lawyer and your realtor, don't take our word for it, check with lawyer and realtor on that part, but yeah, I think so, I mean.
Well, then if you have a closing attorney on the transaction, they should be able to help you, inform you on all those ins and outs, something we can't tell you about.
Okay. But, yeah, he's agreed to take it, as
Okay.
is.
Sounds good.
And like I said, he's gotten bid
Good deal.
already, so.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Blakely.
Thanks, Kevin.
Do you want the report now, or you want to wait?
Yeah, you're up here, go ahead.
Okay.
Well, wait a minute, let's wait, we got some other things.
Okay, that's fine.
Let's come back later.
That's fine.
I have to think, we got some other stuff going on.
All right, well, thank y'all.
All right. Okay, discussion of garbage and refuse ordinance amendment. Mr. Harmon, I think, or you wanna do something and let David?
Want me to start? You wanna start?
It doesn't matter to me.
So, we talked about this at the retreat a few months ago, if you recall, about garbage ordinance and maybe doing some updates to it, just because a lot of it was outdated. Then I had a discussion with Mr. Harmon, gosh, probably about a month ago now, maybe 3 weeks ago, about bringing this up for discussion, just so we can kind of get ahead of it and see if there's anything we'd like to discuss. So what I did was I pulled, and Roger is, our public works director is also here, to provide any support or answer any questions we may have about it. But pretty much I went and found our old ordinance related to garbage, and a lot of it was outdated. A lot of red. So I provided an amendment, but mostly just changing things to what we're actually doing and not what we, used to do. So those are a lot of the changes, but also added some limitations on yard waste debris and the amounts. There actually was limitations in there originally, but they were almost impossible to measure because it had like a truckload in a month. Like how do you measure that? So anyway, so I edited some of that, added some things here and there, added a fine, because what it said originally was that if you violated the ordinance, then we would just stop services. But to me, that doesn't make sense as a town. Why would we want to stop cleaning up trash?
It's gotta be trash.
that seems like a good incentive. So instead, we would have a violation that would be in the fee schedule that we would adopt. So those are kind of the broad strokes of some of the things that are in here, but this is of course just a draft and a discussion item. Wanted to get some feedback guidance. If there's anything you didn't like, anything we needed to change, or any other further discussion, I'm happy to take that feedback. And David, you.
So here's where I'm coming from. If you think about, we have been very fortunate as a town to have rubbish pick up twice a week. It's usually Monday and Thursday. Friday? Monday and Friday, which is crazy excessive. It's a great privilege and a plus, but I think we're overworking our maintenance people, because if you do the math, that's 40% of Roger's weekly workload. And it takes those guys, I think you told me, all day to do it. So that's basically 2 days out of a 5-day work that they're doing nothing but picking up trash.
6 to 8 guys.
Yep, 6 to 8 guys. If we reduced it to 1 day, like every Monday, that's what I'm thinking, because people do stuff on weekends and put it out there. If you did it once a week, we've reduced that down by half. And now Roger can do things that are pressing or need maintenance to, that we just had to put off because we haven't got enough days in our work week. So it was really about productivity and helping Roger be able to do the most with the few guys he's got. And that's where I was driving with that. I didn't really get into the policy too much, but the thought was, how can we make Roger and his guys as efficient and productive as we possibly can with the few hands he's got?
And the 1 day, be good, Roger, or 1 day a week?
Yeah, but what if we don't get done with it in that 1 day? Leave it?
I say, yeah. If we got that much coming out and it happens that many times, then maybe we look at it something else. But if you notify everybody that it's only on Mondays, don't put that crap out till Sunday, then maybe it won't be as bad. I don't know. I don't know what the volume is. I don't know how many days you've not been able to complete it all, but it just seems like an excessive amount of workforce for trash. We don't even pick up, our contract for household trash is only once a week. People are used to doing that. They're used to, okay, I've got a big trash can, and that's what I get allotted every week. I may pull it to the top and jump up and down on the lid, but that's all I get. So it seems like, we have gone over and beyond more than we really should.
In the month of April this year, on this side of town right here, we all lost 506,000 pounds of trash on this little side.
Coffee.
And a couple months before that, there's like 13 million here and 14 million there. And that's several trips back and forth to landfill. in a day's time, 3, 4, 5 trips.
How, is there a financial, element to this? If he only did it 1 week, 1 day a week, are we cutting our financial obligation to the landfill? I don't know what we pay for landfill.
Yeah, no, the landfill, they don't charge us.
Okay.
The town, they don't charge the town
I got you.
for that. That's included in a residential fee the county puts on citizens. Although it does have indirect, well, actually direct costs of fuel, labor hours,
Sure.
opportunity cost.
I'm curious, Roger, is there a type of trash?
What you mean?
Like, does it seem that people are just cleaning out their basements and throwing everything on the side of the road?
It's a lot of the same people, but same, I mean, it's couches, chairs, mattresses, and,
So like furniture?
stuff like that.
Okay.
And I will say, so one thing I put in the ordinance I drafted, again, just a draft, was a limitation. I call that bulky waste. It's stuff that won't fit in your cart. If it's normal household trash, it needs to go in your cart. You shouldn't just throw it in the street. Bulky things are things that won't fit. I put a limitation of like 3 of those items per week, which to me is still quite a bit. But at least maybe that puts a limitation on that to where every week you're not, 10 items, 10 or 20 things. And maybe that's too much, I don't know.
You have a lot of same repeaters on your stuff, man.
Maybe some stops, we sit there and fill the whole truck in one stop.
Yeah, which that certainly can't continue.
Yeah.
Well, you've got a line here, any large clean out can be coordinated for a fee, right? I mean,
That would be like that.
If
So
you're
if I were
cleaning
to
out-
fill a truck,
if you're cleaning out an entire house, you need to contact the town, set something up, in my opinion.
yeah,
Is
and
there a way we could maybe add something specifically about furniture, like couches, mattresses?
yeah,
you know?
I did, yeah.
Okay,
That's the limitation of 3 items, includes
Okay.
furniture, mattresses, and then I took out all building material. I don't think we should be picking up building material at all, even lumber, because it can have nails, screws, and is a very serious hazard for our employees. So that should be something, a qualified contractor who's doing the work should be
They
removing.
should clean up after themselves anyway.
Yeah.
What's your thought, Roger?
I just don't know if, I mean, yeah, I'm good with 1 day a week, but I just don't know if I don't get done with it. Do I stop and let it go till next Monday, or?
I think we have to complete the route.
Right.
If we're dedicating, we're gonna pick up once a week, we need to pick up once a week.
Okay.
So we'll just have to figure out how, maybe that's a
Get it out this week.
Monday and Tuesday, and you do half a day, Monday this side of town, half a day Tuesday this side of town.
I've been breaking my guys up, putting some on this side of town and some on that side of town. It seems to be working better. Like some guys take on most of the street on that way and Park Avenue this way, so it's helped a lot by doing that.
There would be some growing, and we'd have to kind of troubleshoot operationally and figure out what makes sense, right? I think the ordinance doesn't say what day, so I think we said, hey, we're doing it once a week now, and then staff can hopefully, we can play with it for a little bit and try to figure out what works.
Well, one day may not work out, I don't know.
Well, if you're gonna limit what he's gonna pick up,
If you limit it, yeah.
that's gotta help it. But I understand where you're coming from. If he doesn't get done,
Yeah. Somebody's gonna call.
Somebody's gonna be talking.
well, he's gonna leave it there for a week.
Yeah, they get laid
That's
off.
gonna be nasty the next week.
Yeah, sure.
If we're gonna limit what he's gonna pick up, which I think we should, I got no problem with that. Why not leave it at 2 days, because we've already lightened the load?
But that doesn't help him in terms of productivity.
It does if we limit what they can put at the curb. They can't clean out the whole house and put it on the curb, and he's not gonna fill the truck in that one stop.
So you think he could get done faster in the day? Is that what you're thinking? I'm just thinking man hours. That's what I'm
I think he
talking
would
about.
get done quicker if we limit what people can put out at the curb.
Mhm.
If we limit that, I think he would get done quicker. Maybe it doesn't take him all day, but he's
Yeah, might be
still,
done by dinner time or something.
yeah.
Yeah,
Just
that, I
just
would,
limit how much they can put out there
Yeah.
on a day.
If you take building material out of the whole equation, that's gonna happen a lot.
Yeah.
Building material out.
Take what out?
Building material.
Building materials, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that contractors or whoever's doing that should be clean their own.
But do you ask me as a contractor doing it, no, it's me, it's my.
I mean, I know we've done that in the past, but it's, we're trying to do, like David said, we're trying to get some productivity, and that's,
is it better for you, Roger, to have something that only goes to lunchtime and then switch tasks
I can do that.
Yes, that works fine with you guys?
Yeah, if I can do that, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, this, one of the half days is better, like, we'll get done Friday on the other time, you know, that's great, and give something small to that.
Yeah, right.
We're wanting to clean the town up and beautify the town, and I'm afraid that if we limit Roger to one day, Roger, you're only gonna pick up the stuff on Monday. It's gonna be scattered everywhere before the next Monday.
Yeah, and the one thing about the one day if it's the whole town, the 2 days a week, one reason I don't like the 2 days a week, whole town, is that means most of the week, stuff's sitting at the curb. That doesn't limit that, and we don't want stuff sitting at the curb all the time. If you limit it to, hey, it's just Mondays, when you get it taken out, I think that helps naturally clean up the town.
Like on a Monday, would you take half of them on this side of town and the other half on that side, and that's what you've been doing, right?
Yeah, sometimes we'll pick stuff from somebody's
And
house.
that works out pretty good.
Once you go through, pick it all up, and come back through, there's more stuff out again.
Yeah, so that works out.
I mean, I don't understand.
We wouldn't allow that.
He's sitting there watching you. Oh, he's gone. Get the next one.
Take something else out.
Yeah.
So in other words, this is kind of a discussion, so
Yeah.
that's good feedback.
And it's something we can critique.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be cold turkey either. It would be, here's an ordinance, let's adopt an ordinance, and let's do some public information, let's put some flyers,
I think that's what I'm saying. Is there something we can get out there to citizens to let them know what, even give them a copy of this or something to let them know?
Yeah, we'll have like little flyers talking about the ordinance and what they need to be doing, what, and of course give some grace, people need time to learn and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like Jeff was talking about those fees and stuff, that we can kind of be lenient on that to start with, but then after a certain period of time.
Okay. Anything
All right.
else?
That's it.
Sound good?
Okay, I'll take that feedback and
All right,
I'll work on that.
okay,
Bring it back.
good deal. Okay, presentation of asset and inventory results, McGill Industries. RJ.
Here you go,
I've known RJ for so long, I can give him a hard time.
Might go that side of here.
What the mayor really meant was he's known me long enough and heard me speak enough times to know he better tell me to be keeping short. But I appreciate the chance to be with you all this evening. This is the really kind of the final step, logistically speaking, for the town to close out the asset inventory and assessment project that the town secured, along with that resolution that I'm glad DWI caught. They sent you the wrong one. So the idea here is all about the kind of the final deliverables of information and acknowledging that the town's gotten the final products, if you will, from the project. And so wanted to just kind of run back through everything really quick. I know about 8 or 9 months ago, we went into this in pretty great detail. And so you'll hear a little bit of the same information in spots, but again, going to try to move pretty quick through those. But are there any questions that come up as I'm talking, or at the end, either one? I'm happy to address any questions that you guys may have. So AIA stands for Asset Inventory and Assessment. And so ultimately, in this case, it was an asset inventory and assessment project for the water system. It was grant funding to give the town support and resources to help update mapping and creating a list of all of the assets for the water system in town. And then that led us to be able to assess what condition are all those assets in, developing then some criticality scores, as in ranking your infrastructure and the water system for what is most critical and what is the most critical need. And then that helps us develop a list of projects that are viable replacement projects in the water system, just to keep that system invested and producing water the way that it needs to in the future. And so those list of projects then feed their way into a capital improvements plan, and that becomes kind of the framework, if you will, for eventually a revenue analysis and some future rate recommendations. So I think I've said this to this group before, but if you come up with a plan for capital improvements that does not also include some kind of mechanism to also pay for those, fund those improvements, I like to tell folks, you don't have a capital improvements plan, you have a capital wish list, right? Like that's the reality of it, is all of these projects and all of these systems cost money. So when we're developing a capital improvements plan, we want to be clear that these aren't wish list items. These aren't gold-plated fixtures and new fancy equipment that just makes everybody's life simple. These are talking about projects that are related to your system that are either addressing needs related to viability, or needs related to efficiency, needs related to growth, or regulatory changes that are coming your way that you've got to modify the way that you operate the system. And so if you don't have a project or a need that fits into one of those 4 categories, it's not in your CIP. And I can go a step further and say in your CIP, we don't have any large subdivisions. The one industry growth that we've been keeping our eye on for a number of years in town is in town. So you don't have to extend sewer service or water service to them to serve them. So there's no growth needs substantially in this plan. Ultimately, this project and these list of projects that you're talking about are all related to viability. They're all acknowledging that a lot of the water lines and sewer lines that have been in the ground in this town serving its customers for 50, 60, 70 years, maybe even longer, those things are not getting any younger, just like any of the rest of us. And so at some point we've got to recognize and prioritize how to go about replacing that infrastructure. So just a few metrics, if you will, a few little data points on the water system overall. And so you've got different colors there representing the different ages. So that dark blue represents the sections of your system by footage, that is, that are between 21 to 30 years old. Take note that that's the youngest pipes you have. There's nothing in your system younger than 20 years old, right? Second group there is the blue section, the lighter blue section. It's 19% of your system is in the category from 31 to 40. And then the largest green section is greater than 50. And so that's a number to keep in mind. And that's a number that we want to address as we move forward with the plan that we develop here. This graph is the same basic idea. It's classifying everything by diameter, but it is by the length. And so you've got everything ranging from 1-inch size water mains that the town owns in your system all the way up to 12-inch. And so you can just kind of see the way the sizing breaks down in your system overall.
Could you read those real quick?
Yeah.
So which size was?
So 1% of the system is 1 inch. 0.5% is 1.25 inches, which that's kind of an odd size anyway, makes sense. 1.5 inches is 1%. 2 inch makes up 29% of your system. 6 inch then is 49%, so the vast majority of your system is 6 inch piping.
For a hydrant.
Okay.
And then 8 inch makes up 6% of the system, 10 inch makes up another 1%, and then finally 12 inch makes up 13%. And the biggest part of that 12 is the main transmission line that goes from the old water plant where you're pumping the water into town to the tanks. So that's kind of your backbone to get it up into the tanks so that it can serve the rest of the town.
Okay.
And then similar graph we've got here now, again, classifying everything by percentages of the overall length of the system, but now we're looking at the materials of the pipelines. And so if we go through that, galvanized piping is 22% of your system. That's not too surprising given the age of some of your system being as old as it is. The AC means asbestos cement. Back in the 60s and 70s, they used asbestos cement pipe, and as long as you don't disturb it or have to cut it, it works just fine. But it is a huge issue when it gets brittle and creates leaks. And it's not easy for Roger and the guys or any contractor to really make any repairs there, because you got to keep that pipe literally wet so that it's not a safety hazard. 43% of the system is cast iron. That's the big kind of light blue there on the right side of the screen. The green section, ductile iron, is 8%. And then the last green section, PVC, is 20% of the system. So as you look at that overall, you've got as much galvanized almost as you do the two most desirable materials, your ductile iron and your PVC, make up 28%.
Do you run into much Orangeburg?
Orangeburg's typically on the sewer side, and this project did not assess the
The
sewer
reason
system.
I asked that, we had to have ours replaced from
From
the
the house
road
to
to
the
the
street.
house. And the reason it was Orangeburg and leaned the roots of a tree.
Yep.
So, okay.
So Orangeburg is definitely a sewer service material, and like you had the experience, that's the customer side of things, generally speaking. But there are some spots where you probably do have some Orangeburg, and you probably do have a lot of clay sewer lines that are subject to the same root intrusion problems that you had with the service line you're talking about.
Okay.
So overall though, just keeping in mind that, 65% of your system is either galvanized or cast iron. And those are the pipe materials that most often give utility systems problems. Now, yours have been in the ground a long time, and Roger's sitting here tonight not working on the leak, which we're all thankful for. But, that's just to say.
He's gonna help you fix it,
Roger. The point is, we talk about numbers and life cycles and ages and what matters and what doesn't, and certainly there are always exceptions. The ground is full of them, not just in Drexel, but all across the nation, because this is a nationwide issue with the age of our infrastructure. But the point is that as you're kind of playing the odds, you want to try to move the needle in a positive direction, so where you're cutting those percentages down over time. So this map is not real easy to see on the slide, but I'll give this to you. So as we go through everything that we've, just take those glasses around, please. As we go through the inventory in total, we look at some of the data that you're talking about, that we were just talking about, and then we look at who these areas serve, as in what's the risk of something failing, and then what's the consequence of something failing. If we lose a small galvanized line that's on the end of a cul-de-sac that's serving two houses, that may happen kind of regularly. I bet you that's what Roger tells you he goes to fix most, is small diameter galvanized. But if he's going to fix small diameter galvanized, there's not a lot of people out of service. And so the consequence of that failure is not as great as if you lost a major line that maybe was serving the elementary school or serving somebody else in town, a large user, okay? So all of the rankings that we went through in an objective process, using those rankings, using the age, using the materials, using the diameter to try to classify how important different segments are, that leads us to kind of grouping several projects together here. And so you've got existing lines are that kind of light blue that would not be scheduled for any replacement. But then you look at things that are yellow lines, and that's kind of in a first group of projects that would be recommended for replacement. And then the red segments are group 2, and then lastly the green ones are group 3. And so all of those kind of make up the first 3 sets of projects that we will eventually recommend in the CIP to be completed in your next 10 years. Okay? So with that, the next part of that is a capital improvements table. Let me keep just one of those. I'm looking at. So when you get that in your hands, you'll notice this is a capital improvements plan that spans 10 years. And so you got a column for each year, and you've got rows making up the different projects. And those project numbers, project 1, 2, and 3, they correspond to the same projects that you saw on the map in the different colors. And so what this plan does is it begins to try to create a reasonable and achievable timeline, if you will, for how to complete these projects. You don't want to break out and do $15.8 million worth of work all in one project, all in 1 year even. So we want to schedule those things out in a way that makes more sense financially speaking. And so this CIP gets created, and then we go look at the evaluation of the financial model, and that feeds back into the CIP, and it's kind of an iterative process a little bit. Then we sit down and we review it with staff, and we talk about what that means overall and how you would accomplish that plan. And then ultimately, it kind of works its way into this final format. And so you can see there in that water distribution system section, the first project to be proposed is actually a water meter replacement project. And so that's one that the town I know has been looking at for a number of years in updating meters, where you would be able to make meter reading more efficient and also capture more usage, and thereby capture a little more revenue in the system without even changing rates. So, but that project then in fiscal year 27 is scheduled to take place. And then when you look beyond that, you run into the $5.9 million Helene Award project. And you'll notice that that's in like a salmon or a pink looking highlighted color. And that essentially signifies in the CIP, you're going to do this work, you're going to spend this money, that the funding source is external. So it's kind of a cash into the system, cash right back out of the system, because you're reimbursing yourself as you go through the process. The blue cells, by the way, signify proposed new debt for the water system. And everybody wants to be cautious about the word debt, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. But you'll notice that you've got 3 different sections of debt issuance proposed in the CIP. So fast forwarding then through, you can see a couple more projects. That's where your project number 2 and your project number 1 and your project number 2 both come into play at $1.8 and $1.9 million in their respective years. And you'll notice out there in years 11 through 15, there's another project. That's actually project number 3 from the map. I always stop and tell people that column years 11 through 15 has no bearing on the financial model that we're going to talk about in the next couple of slides. Why? Because when we look at your system overall and we look at the revenue required and how it's required to grow, we look at that and understand that if we come up with a very sophisticated plan that replaces anything and everything in town, that might be great for the replacement of the system, but that's not financially feasible for the town overall, right? So we use that column 11 through 15 out there as a placeholder to remind us that there's still going to be more work that we've got to continue to be committed to beyond this 10-year window. But within this 10-year window, as we look, based on our experience with other towns, both larger and smaller than the town of Drexel, we look at that and kind of work that to a point where we feel like that's a financially reasonable outcome that kind of mirrors what other folks are doing. So there's a lot of talking about the CIP and the projects. Are there any questions on that before we move on?
Do these numbers, especially in like year 9, take into consideration inflation?
They do.
Okay.
So we cost everything out as if it's a 2026, and then we assign it to a year, and there's some escalation there. And
Gotcha.
we can't anticipate another COVID, but we can anticipate, I think we were setting all the inflation in this about 3%. So you've got a plan, you have a need for spending money, then you move into the financial analysis. How are we going to afford to cover those expenses? And so that financial analysis really becomes a look at your past audits, at your current budget, and then we project forward in the future on how the revenues and expenses may need to be realized. And we look at some key performance indicators of the financial status of the system overall to try to make sure that we're not overcharging, make sure that we're not over borrowing, make sure that we're not neglecting needs in the process. So when we look at, like I said, that historical revenue, we look at the historical growth, we look at historical rate adjustments, and then we look at how they project into the future as well. Similarly, we're looking at salaries and benefits, we're looking at how we anticipate them growing, we're looking at the capital improvements plan and what money you need to be spending there. And we're also looking then at that from the perspective of debt service existing, debt service is going to roll off in the plan, and then debt service that would need to roll back into the plan to help make things affordable. And ultimately, we're trying to manage the fund balance. You know, the fund balance itself has to operate like the enterprise fund savings account, if you will, and you've got to make sure that that stays solvent so that the system can continue to operate. The state auditor's office, they make sure that you're on the up and up there as well. So we're tracking that operating ratio, make sure we're operating in the black as much as possible. We're tracking days of working capital. How much money would we have if for some crazy reason we stopped being able to bring in any more revenue? How long could we fund the utility system? And then we look at that number for sufficiency of your revenue above debt. So that's kind of like your, on a home finance side of things, you punch your numbers into the calculator. It says how much house can I afford? What kind of a mortgage can I afford? It's the same kind of mindset that's structured for a utility system. And we do have to make some assumptions to get this model to run. We've got to make some kind of assumptions on a number of different factors. Are we going to grow, or are we going to assume that we're staying pretty flat with growth? Are we going to be able to adjust revenues through rate adjustments? And if so, how much? And then we've also got to kind of consider into that inflation for expenses. We've got to consider the capital planning. We've got to consider what debt strategies may look like. The way you can borrow money today and the agencies you can borrow from today may or may not be there in 8 or 10 years. And so we've got to make assumptions all the way through this model. And then lastly, in a system of your size, we want to kind of set a target for a fund balance and say, we don't want to see that fund balance, that savings account, we don't want to see it dip below 50% of your overall utility system expenses for a year. And so when you kind of start factoring those things in, they guide our decisions on how we move those projects around in the 10-year plan and how we plan to pay for them. And then lastly, on that slide, you can see that CPI graph there. Thank goodness we're moving forward in time. We've seen the CPI come down from its peak in 2022 down to more reasonable levels in 2025. And so we hope to see that continue. Got a little graph here that just kind of shows you the revenue requirements in the 10-year projection. It's visual. There is another sheet with a bunch of numbers on it that if you want to see that, it's in the report, and I can give you copies of it now as well, but to keep my time as brief as we can, I won't read through all of those. But just suffice it to say, all of these columns in this graph represent money that you spend. Those are expenses for the revenue for the system. I'm sorry, expenses for the utility system. And so you see those populated there from fiscal year 25 all the way up to fiscal year 35. And so they're growing over time as you see them grow based on the factors that we've been talking about. The dashed blue line that kind of cuts through the top of those bars, that's your revenue realized in 2025 projected forward with only minimal additional usage revenue. So that's like the house pops up here, house pops up there, ones and twos, not substantial growth, not changing any revenue sources any other way. That's where your revenue line would trend. And so you can see that all of those columns are exceeding that dashed line. That would be considered operating in the red for all of those times if you did not move that number. The black line that you see though up above represents the revenue as it would track according to the plan that we're recommending for revenue needs. And so that, you'll notice then, hits almost all of those bars at their midpoint or above. And it actually shows a few spots where you got some good white space in between the top of the bar and the black line. That means that's a year where you're banking and adding a little bit of money back to the utility fund. And then the 2 years, I think it's fiscal year 30 and fiscal year 34 there, you see it's just slightly above. And so those would represent years where you're running at a little bit of a loss, but that's okay occasionally and at small amounts. So then talking about those benchmarks, we want to make sure that we're relevant to the industry and not just doing what RJ or McGill says. These are utility benchmarks that are published by the AWWA and guidelines and minimum thresholds or maximums that they want to see you operate at. And so that operating ratio, obviously you want to be above 1.0. And so you can see that tracking from years past all the way up through fiscal year 28 here, and you're just seeing that value hover right around 1.0, and it reaches its highest value in the window here at that 1.2 number in fiscal year 28. And then similar graph, but with different information. That's that days working capital. So what you're seeing is that at the peak, you had 393 days of working capital in the reserves in fiscal year 22. That number's come down a little bit, moving into fiscal year 25 and 26. We're spending a little bit of cash with some of the projects that we're talking about. So you continue to see that number decline a little bit, but then as revenue increases pick up in 27 and beyond, you start to see that number turn back up to hold it above that 120-day minimum value. And so sufficiency of revenue above debt, again, that's the kind of the how much house can I afford. I don't want to be spending more than 25% of my revenue on debt for this utility system. And so you can see there that value's been very low in the past, 4%, 3%, holding at 3% all the way through last year, 2025. And then it would be proposed to start jumping up to accomplish some of these projects as we look to move forward. But 10%, 9% is still well below the 25% target max that the industry would recommend. And then lastly, I didn't talk about this KPI earlier. It's a very new one that the state auditor's office has begun looking at. I'm not real wild about this one because it's just accountants making up ways to track whether or not your utility system is being renewed. But they basically take your list of depreciated utility assets and they start tallying up totals. And then they look at your total value of your system. And if your ratio is not above 50%, they tack that onto your audit report every year and say, you're not reinvesting in your utility system enough, you need to look at that. And so I've had probably 10 or 15 clients that we've done this same type of exercise for in the last year or two since they've started monitoring that value. And of those clients, one has been above that 50% number. Okay, so you're below that number, you're below that target according to their criteria. But I can tell you without doubt you're not in the boat alone on that one. And I can also tell you that when the folks come to town from the LGC to ask you about your audit and ask you about things, when you tell them you've got a capital improvements plan and you've got a revenue model and a rate model that goes with it, they stop asking questions pretty quick. The main idea for them, I think, in a lot of cases is they want to just know that you are thinking proactively and developing a plan on how to address the system. So with the rate increases that have been proposed to help generate that additional revenue, here's your comparison to your neighbors and to the state at large. And I know that it's probably difficult for you all to see from across the room, but I think the summary there is to say, you know, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different entities, and that's Drexel both today and in the future. Of those list of folks, you know, Drexel's rates are the cheapest in that group. Now that doesn't mean you're the cheapest all across the state, but it means among your kind of local peers, Newton, Granite Falls, Hickory, Valdez, Morganton, you know, you're at the cheaper end of that spectrum. And that's even with the second value in there for the future proposed rate with a 3,000 gallon a month bill coming in at $45.43. That also compares against the dashed line that's vertical over to the right there that says 6878. And so what that means is that dashed line is of the 700 and some utility system all across the state. The UNC dashboard folks have looked at all the data and they say that's the median value. So that's the absolute middle of the road cost for utilities in North Carolina all across the state for the same 3,000 gallons a month. And so you can just kind of use that as an affordability comparison for how does Drexel stack up against the middle of the state. So with that in mind, I think, with the presentation we made last fall, made those kind of recommendations about where rates and revenue needed to be headed. Again, happy to answer any questions that anybody has at this point, but I think barring any, that would be kind of the conclusion of your requirements for the AIA project. And then at that point, we can give you the final report later this week, and then Mr. Carroll can move to get reimbursed from DWI as quick as possible.
Is there, don't we have some kind of grants or something on this?
Yeah, this is that ARPA AIA grant. It's all funded through the state, 100%.
How much is it?
$350,000?
I think it was, yes.
Total.
We do have money, okay.
What we do is we cash flow it, so we pay it up front and then we get reimbursed, and the state takes a couple weeks. Well, we're mostly reimbursed. There's only a little bit left.
Yeah, they've been doing it along the way, and you get this done, you have a resolution in front of you as well that would acknowledge the AIA and its completion.
Yeah, that's what
you send them that final resolution, and that's the last box you gotta check to get the last of your money.
Okay.
Yeah, so this resolution, I passed it earlier, just acknowledging that you've received this and that McGill's conducted it, and you're just accepting that. And I would ask that be approved tonight so we can get that turned in the state and start working towards closeout.
Okay. Do I have motion to approve the asset and inventory results? Victoria's motion. Do I have a second? I'll second. Scott, second. All in favor, raise your right hand, say aye.
Aye.
All right, unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, RJ.
Absolutely. Maybe not 15 minutes.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good.
Say 15, due in 20.
Yeah.
That's called negotiating, right?
Go ahead. That's
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm not normally here on Mondays, and I have like 7 meetings I can come back to.
Okay. Yeah, so you need to go. Okay.
You can excuse her.
Okay, I was like, I don't know how that
Yeah,
works.
I'm excused. Yeah, you're fine. We'll excuse you. They still got a quorum, so we're good.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect.
And you just have to watch the budget presentation online.
Exciting, well, do good, I trust your judgment.
Check the rest of it online. Thank you, Victoria.
I think that's what's next, right? Yeah. All right.
Okay, presentation of fiscal year 26-27 proposed budget.
All right, thank you, Mayor. I'll take that one. I know we've got a lot going on tonight, but it's all very important stuff, so. I'll bring this up. Give me 1 second. Yeah, I might just leave it there. Sorry, just get the stream going. I'm gonna leave it on the camera. The streaming technology is not one, but we can get at least look at it from here. So let me get my binder out. So this is the official budget presentation for fiscal year 26. Because I've of course the ability to review that at your leisure until the next meeting. In the next meeting, we'll plan to have the budget hearing, and then at that point, we will adopt the budget if the board is ready to adopt it at that point. And then that'll give us about 28 days in the month of June to get that prepared in our financial software, so that way we can go live on July 1 without worrying about any issues. So start out the presentation. The goal of this presentation is to present the proposed budget. We're going to start with our goals, go to an overall budget discussion, move to general fund, electric fund, and then finally water and sewer. So I'll just read the top overlying goal on this. So our goal 1 is to fund recreation programming and facility improvement projects to improve accessibility to events, activities hosted by the town of Drexel. Goal 2 is to incentivize private economic development and downtown revitalization by developing the Drexel industrial site and investing directly in downtown redevelopment efforts. To initiate and enact plans to invest in water, sewer, and electric utility infrastructure, And finally, being an employer of choice and improve retention and recruitment efforts. Those are our strategic goals, and those were kind of the guiding principles as I developed this budget today. So right here I have a chart that kind of outlines some of the, or the past year compared to the proposed budget, showing what we adopted a year ago versus what was eventually amended and then what was proposed. The highlights of that is that our current total proposed budget is $5.3 million. It is a 0.2% decrease below last year's amended budget, so a very slight decrease. And what it does offer is a 4.5% COLA and step adjustment for full-time employees. And in total, there's $1.9 million of the budget is salary and benefit costs, which is about 37%, and that is flat year over year. So moving on now to general fund revenue, and you should have all these graphs in your documents. Key metrics of our overall budget for the general fund is $1.87 million. It does propose a property tax increase. It proposes a solid waste fee increase of $24 annually, a sales tax increase of 2%, and that's not any effect on the residents. That's just we're anticipating about a 2% inflationary rate that'll cause it to change. And then we also anticipated a recreation revenue increase. That has continued to be a theme in the past few years as recreation has increased revenue about $5,000 per year for the past 3 years. And that is a breakdown pie chart of where all that revenue sources are coming. Of course, still our largest revenue source, even with the property tax increase, is sales taxes. So we rely heavily on sales taxes to fund our general fund. So dive a little bit into property taxes, and this is something the board's already seen, but just so kind of out there. We have a property tax increase proposal of 35 cents per $100 evaluation to 39 cents per $100 evaluation. Primary reasons being police retirement contributions from last year to this year, a $49,000 increase or 154% because we had 2 retirements in the past fiscal year. And then also a larger one is the recreation activities and maintenance have increased. And if you look back at fiscal year end 23 compared to next year's proposed budget, you're talking about $176,000 increase in expenditures, primarily in staffing and capital and maintenance. Some discussion at the last budget workshop. I had initially proposed about a 38 cent, and then there was discussion about potentially going to 39 cents. So the difference that makes is really just in recreation activities and maintenance. It increases your maintenance and capital line item in the R.O. Huffman Center from about from about $60,000 to $80,000. So with a 39 cent, you're getting about $80,000 as opposed to $60,000. So that would be, of course, we would go based on, if you remember at the last workshop, we adopted a plan of priorities. So it would, in essence, start knocking those out. You know, as we have the funding, we have $80,000 to work with. We'll knock as much out as we can this year, and then knock those crosses off the list. And then the next year, we would go from there and continue to knock those down. And of course, there's surprises happen, so you never know. Things can wrenches can get thrown in the system, but we would, do the best we could.
Bill, would you mind pointing out? I think we looked at it during our last workshop. We've paid 35-cent tax rate. You're going to do that for the past 3 years, and prior 10 to that was 38.
Correct. So here's the benchmarking of the property taxes for that, and we'll make sure that this presentation is available online and publicly too, so people can review it.
I think the reason it went down is because our county taxes went down.
There was a reval.
Yeah, it was a reval.
So let's see here. So benchmarking, I have a benchmarking chart that shows our comparison to the entire region, the Western Piedmont region. So we are not even halfway down. Our current rate, 35 cents. And it shows you what that tax bill looks like at $250,000 value versus other towns in our region. So we are, as far as full service towns go, still one of the lowest tax towns, even with a proposed 39-cent increase. The only town I can find in our region that would be lower would be Maiden. They are a full service town, but they also have a lot more tax base because they have like a Google data center and stuff that helps offset some of their costs. So I don't know if they're a really good comparison to compare to us. They're also a larger town. So, and then yes, our tax rates since 2010 are on the right. So we were 32 cent up until 2013, then it was increased to 38 all the way for about 10 years or 9 years. And then it went to 35 cent at the reval a few years back. And I will mention tax rates, there have been a big discussion this year, legislative actions aside. I'm hearing from a lot of managers in Western North Carolina, just heard today that Catawba County is going to be raising their property taxes, that this is a common theme, that expenses, the COVID boon of sales tax revenue, which jumped like 30% in 1 year, that boon has kind of started to plateau now. So we're having to kind of land the plane. So a lot of these are, we had 5 years of higher revenues than anticipated, and now that's kind of started to come back together to what we expect. So that means we have to adjust our tax rates, and that's happening. We're not alone in that. Valdez is going to be adjusting it, as far as I know. Catawba County and various other towns in the western part of the state.
Rufford College and quite a few other. I mean, just within Burke County to rise it, but all the way across the board in Western Burke County, it's a big one. Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, Mayor.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Dad.
So of the people we're compared to, and you may not know the answer to this, do they rely as heavily on sales taxes as we are?
Small towns, yes, especially in Burke County.
Okay.
Because in Burke County, the way the taxes are split is per capita. So towns like Hildebrand and Rutherford College, Glen Alpine, and us, our populations aren't that different. So we're getting the same amount of tax revenue. The only difference is in a lot of those towns compared to us, we have a police department and fire department. That's 50% of our general fund is going to that, right? And that's where our expenses mostly lie.
It's just a guess. So you're kind of wishing that sales tax will hit what you think it is.
That's right.
So you're kind of playing with the.
And I would encourage, I know I sent it to the board, but I would encourage members of the public, if they have not read the articles on Lincoln County and Lincolnton, they changed the way that tax formula was done, and it really hurt Lincolnton. Really? Public knowledge, but just something that the sales tax, yeah, it's a huge, we rely on it. Property tax is all we can control. Sales tax, we could have a depression, a recession. You could have the county decide to change that, and that would really affect us. So we want to make sure we're building for the future and we have enough revenue outside of sales tax that we're safe.
I know I talked to Hugh Blackwell about a week or so ago on this amendment they got coming on. He tried to assure me that it wasn't going to affect us as much as it is the bigger ones, but it's still going to affect us in one way or another.
Any property tax changes affect the town ultimately. Whether it's a big effect, it would be up to what the legislature.
It's targeted towards the bigger sections, but it's still going to hit on us.
Okay. And we'll move on from there. We'll go over to expenses in general fund. So key metrics I want to make sure we point out is that public safety accounts for 50% of our expenditures. So we are investing in public safety, and that's pretty standard. That's not like we're unique in that sense, but public safety, good public safety and quality public safety is not cheap. It costs a lot of money. We do have a funded new full-time recreation position. I have that funded at $51,000. That includes benefits. That's to help with the workload that's come in at the recreation center, as you all are aware. Then we also have some new small equipment funded, including firearms, PPE, radios, body cameras, and recreation projects, as I mentioned earlier, about $80,000 worth. We also have a new large equipment, including a police SUV, a grapple truck, leaf vacuum truck, and sewer trailer. The large equipment would be planned to be financed at the beginning of the fiscal year. And that would be a debt service payment going forward. And we currently don't have any debt in general fund, so this would be, it would barely affect it as far as percentages. Any questions on general fund? And this is, of course,
depending on how things go, we could probably pay it off early if we have.
Yeah, I would certainly, it would be a 5-year note, and I would certainly make it to where there's an early payout option. That if we decided, hey, we want to go ahead and pay this off, we could. If we had a year, we landed something on the industrial side or something like that, a sale or something. And then this graph, again, you have it here, and we'll make sure the public has access to it too. This just shows a breakdown where all the expenses are going, what those departments are. Okay, we got electric fund on one slide. So key metrics in the electric fund is it's about $2.4 million budget. It has also a share of that large equipment in Public Works. We split the Public Works equipment between their three funds evenly because they're used for all funds. We are gonna have a 3% rate increase from Electric Cities North Carolina Municipal Power Agency 1. So that just means that was voted that our rates that we pay are going up 3% to the agency. And again, that's just due to increasing costs. It's something that Electric Cities has been avoiding for a long time, but it's like everything else, things have started catching up after the COVID period. I have proposed a 4% rate increase to Drexel customers. That additional percentage is just to help offset our internal costs outside of just the power costs. That would bring your average monthly bill from $135 to $140. Like I often say, a $5 increase or a fancy cup of coffee per month.
Starbucks cup.
Yeah, Starbucks cup of coffee, that's right. Revenue and expenses are broken down the pie chart. Most of our revenue, of course, comes from sales of electricity. We do have some. Our electric fund does have a pretty decent sized fund balance, which is important in electric because electric's expensive. So one thing goes down, you can eat that quick. So we like to keep a very healthy fund balance. So we do make a little interest income on that. That's nice, and that just helps offset some costs. And then we have the fees associated with late payments and whatnot. Then in expenses, it's just admin, operations, and community relations. Operations, of course, is the vast majority of those expenses. That includes the purchasing of the power and then the labor and costs and equipment of Rogers linemen to do their job. Any questions on electric fund? Okay, moving to water and sewer fund. Water and sewer budget is $1,900,000. It includes capital project savings of $138,000. It was great that RJ was able to share some of the planned projects we have, and you saw them big price tags. And you saw how old our system is. So this is what that's for, right? We're putting aside, $138,000 next year. If we have any emergency purchases, obviously that would help cover that, but primarily it's going to be used to offset future costs of capital improvement plans that are going to be expensive. And we also have a share of that new large equipment is going to be split here. So we split those evenly, as I mentioned. And this is a $4.99 minimum rate increase for Drexel customers. Engineers analysis, of course, this is all based on McGill. This isn't pulled out of thin air. This is based on McGill's assessment on what we need to make sure our system is where it needs to be in 10 years. And again, that's a $4.99 increase. Your average monthly bill goes from $45.43 currently to $50.42, or $4.99 increase, another fancy cup of coffee as well. Lots of cups of coffee. As far as revenue goes, utility charges are more than 90%. We have some small interest. This fund's not got quite as much cash in it, so it doesn't create as much investment income. And then the expenses, mostly more than 50% operations. Then we split out our water and sewer pump expenses that we get from Valdez and Morganton, just to make sure we split those costs. And that goes to show you our sewer is a little bit more expensive than our water. All this, is subject to the town of Valdez and the city of Morganton, how their rates get changed. Obviously that will affect us. I've included some of that, a conservative amount in there, in a slight increase, because I do anticipate they will go up. I just don't know exactly where that'll fall and how it will affect the budget.
We won't know that until after they use their budget. So.
Well, they'll have to adopt. I got an idea of what they're going to do. Hopefully they don't go up as much, and that saves us a little money. Yeah. Okay. So, but I will say the revenue analysis at McGill works with all the towns in the area. It does include those assumptions that there will be increases from Valdez and Morganton. And as far as benchmarking goes for those bills, RJ covered the water already, but just so we can review it. The electric bill at 1,500 kilowatt hours at the top. With the current rate, you'd have a $161 bill. At the new rate next year, your bill would be $167.70. And you can compare that to the rest of the energy providers in the area. We're still almost $20 cheaper than our next nearest competitor, Rutherford Electric. And water, we will be at 5042. Morganton's still a tad lower than us, but Valdez, and this is Valdez rates now. I assume they're going to be going up. So Valdez rates now, we're below them by almost $4. Same with Granite Falls and Hickory, and then far below the almost $15 lower than the North Carolina average. All right, so that's a quick summary of breakdowns of the ordinance and whatnot, but I wanted to provide an overall highlight and presentation. And again, this will be available publicly, so if anybody from the public would like to look at it, they will have that option. And I'm welcome to any feedback, questions, changes, alterations that you may have.
We'll have a public hearing next month on this, right?
That's correct.
And vote on it next month.
That's correct.
Okay.
You have almost, not quite a month, because we're a little late in the month, not quite a month to dissect and come up with any questions.
Anything for Bill?
Very thorough, thank you.
Yeah.
What was that for?
Yeah, buddy.
Okay, we go to the departmental.
Yeah, let me get readjust and go back there. Here we go. All right, thank you, Mayor. I'll be, again, brief. I know we're getting late. But again, very important items. I need to go back to this. All right, so now moving back from next fiscal year to the current fiscal year. I think I have this for the public's consumption. Our general fund budget or the general fund that's budgeted 1.7 million compared to the next page. It's on page 2. Compared to an actual of 1.7 versus a budget of 1.7. So we're a tad bit in revenue in the general fund. We're a tad bit lower than what was budgeted, but again, that's not to be unexpected. We're right within $20,000 of it, so nothing too concerning there. Total expenses, we're at 1.6 actual versus 1.7 budgeted. So our expenses are actually showing a little right here. Dave. Next page. Yeah, sorry.
Thank you, sir.
You're good.
I can read Jerry.
Yeah, you can't read it up there. Yeah. That's one thing we need. We need a screen in front of us, don't we?
Yeah.
So we are operating. Our expenses are lower than anticipated, which is of course good. So overall, the fund is in the black. Moving down to the electric fund on the next page. About halfway through, total revenue actual sits at 2.05 million versus a budgeted 1.92 million. So our revenues are tracking higher than our tracking higher than our budgeted revenues, which is good. Primarily due to a big January to February month because we had really cold temperatures. Our total expenses actual at 1.8 versus 1.9 budgeted. So we're again operating more lean than anticipated, which is always good. So our fund is well within the black, about $170,000 in black. Water and sewer fund on the next page, total revenue 759 actual versus a budgeted of 725. So operating a little bit better there in income. And then the total expenses actual 550,000 versus 725,000 budgeted. So we're sitting good there, and it looks like, whoa, we got no expenses going on. That's primarily due to the fact that we're again putting away capital, right, into the budget so we can save it for the future. So that's an expected difference there. And I'll move on to the tax report if that's okay, Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
It's on the next page. So tax report, again, remember we're a month behind, so this is as of March 31. Our net collected levy at this point is 507,000, 8,000 uncollected. That's 96.5% collected versus last year's 95% collected. So we're about 1.5% better than we were a year ago. That's continuing to track right where we needed to track, and I've been very happy with the county's collection methods, and it seems to have been a good decision on the board's part. And that's all I have on the financials.
I just have to take this one, and I meant to ask when RJ was here, but he's talking about the meters, the water meters. We're gonna do that, they're gonna go on the same system as our power meters are.
That'd be the plan.
That's the plan, right?
That's the plan, correct.
Okay. All right. Okay, Chief Richard.
Been a long day.
So it looks like we had 446 calls for service or events. Of course, our events are more proactive actions we take and our calls for service are reactive. They come out to the dispatch center every now and then. I like to highlight the difference there. And I get those numbers from our dispatch center. That's where I come up with these stats for you. But we had 7 reportable incidents, 6 closed cases, 23 traffic citations, with 9 of those being warning tickets, 2 motor vehicle accidents, and 1 other paper served.
Illegal burns, is that just people not paying attention to?
Illegal burns,
Yeah.
we had 3 or 4 of those come out.
Yeah, is that just people not paying attention?
We had a burn ban.
Burn ban?
Resulting from the burn ban?
Yeah, some of those were out in our ETJ. There was a couple false ones here in town. We went and investigated and helped Jonathan out on a couple, and there was no fire. So.
What's our home, I've noticed a few new people walking down my road on the homeless situation. Is it getting more or less or about the same, or?
I've noticed, more people walking on 70 for sure, and coming in off Settlemire, and I think that has. I mean, if you get up to the bypass up there, you have to stop in the middle of the road to let them cross. There's no regard for oncoming traffic.
I know. I got a call, and I wasn't sure about over at the Bridgeport. At the bridge at Bridgeport there between the church and what used to be Rick Ramsey's place.
Yeah,
evidently they've took over that bridge, or they're under that bridge, because I had somebody call me and talk about having sledgehammers and iron rod. They took over that underneath that bridge or whatever. So that might be something.
I've seen people going under there, and there's always a pile of stuff there at the edge of the bridge now.
But that's not our ETJ anyway. I think that's kind of a neutral thing. And
where's it at?
The Bridgeport.
It is. It's just right on the corner of our ETJ. We share that with Valdez and the county. Yeah, it sure is. But I think from what I've seen and my guys have seen, I mean, we've had some funny weather. I mean, we've got some cold mornings in May here. We got it's back and forth. But since it started to warm up a little bit, I mean, they're starting to walk more, starting to move. Yeah.
Okay.
I hadn't seen a problem here in town, an uptick in town directly, but.
Yeah. I just happen to look out the door or somewhere every once in a while, I'll see somebody different than what I'm usually seeing going up or down the road.
Well, I think we partner with the school system and the churches, and, we've got town property. And pretty much the only thing that's left would be our rest home and the private properties that we don't have the authority to walk on there and make an arrest without being told. So we're fortunate in that respect.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Anybody else?
Good. All right. You got the fire report there in front of you that chief's not here tonight. You can look over that.
We have a few staff that weren't able to make it because of the date change.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the planning report's included here. It's available if anybody needs it. We have the recreation report. I won't go through it all. Other than to say that they did participate in the Special Olympics last week, and that was a really cool event that our staff was able to attend. So I thank them for supporting that organization. And the planning report's available, and the fire report's available. And of course, Mr. Kevin is here if you'd like for him to present.
Yeah, come on back up there. I made you wait all
And to
that
wait
time.
patiently.
Yeah.
He asked me to wait, so I'll wait.
I appreciate you.
This one will be short and sweet.
I appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, no problem. First of all, I was gonna apologize to Chief, with Miss Blakeney. It wasn't a disturbance. She just could not hear out there, and I was trying to speak low, but then she got excited about having what she feels is a whole nother month to make a decision. So I think in the midst of, it sounded like a disturbance, but it wasn't. So she's been pleasant to work with. Well, Chief come out there and he's like, "Everything all right?" I said, "Yeah." So
he's more observant than we are.
Well, it could have been the back row.
He was asked to.
Yes, I was gonna say, even the back row that was at the door may have heard her getting excited, but,
Well, it's not that we give her 30 more days, it's just the way it may work out.
it is, it's the way the transition's gonna fall. So, on this report, I've almost got 100% in green, even, I know you don't have it, but just being a follow-up today, a lot of other properties have been cleaned and cut, mostly grass this go around. There's nothing else really pressing right now. I've had 0 complaints in the past 2 months that no one's called me directly. So that's almost been unheard of in any town, for that matter.
Have you been busy, Dave?
So, as far as the homeless goes though, thankfully it's not as visually big right now. I'm sure there's pockets here and there, but other towns it's within less than 7 minutes, 10 minutes, it's growing. I've dealt with 2 in a town not far from here in the past 2 months. It's big encampments. So, a lot of times it's commercial property. It's not fenced. And so there's a lot of freedom there in their thinking. It's easy to hide until spotted, but I did have one incident where I spoke to a gentleman, the little Pepsi store, little corner. He was sitting there in the sunlight, told me where he lived, told me his father's situation. He said, I'm not technically homeless, I'm waiting on a friend. I can only take him at his word till it gets worse. So, and he told me where his friend lived and said, they didn't want him coming by until they were home. So, the chief and I had, we discussed that individual as well. So, but that's the report for May. And any questions?
No, sounds pretty good.
Okay.
Thank you for staying on top of things.
Well, it's one day at a time, literally. The older I get, the more I realize it's one day at a time.
Cohen deal about straight?
It's been quiet, and we want it quiet. So we'll leave it at that.
Leave it there.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
All right, y'all have a good night.
You too.
Are you gonna do anything to increase it?
No, I mean, there's nothing.
It's there.
There is a development agreement in that she found, and for that Burn Street potentially adopting a development agreement. She just wanted to make sure she provided a copy to you all. You all can review.
I did have one question. It says something here about the, considering purchasing the adjacent property. Is that the apartments on the back?
I actually don't know. That'd be a question for her. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm thinking that's what maybe.
Maybe, that'd be good.
But I know there's people been looking at them and stuff, so.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
All right, what we got next?
I think it's just me now.
Well, just you now.
Yeah. Move on to the manager's report. So just want to mention the car shows are canceled. Those are no longer occurring.
Is that because she's moving?
Yeah,
and they're gonna do it up there, right?
I don't know.
They're not gonna be down
They're
there.
not gonna be down here. I just wanted to make sure people knew that, so they weren't showing up and nothing was going on. Memorial Day offices will be closed. That's on May 25th. And we do have our Western Piedmont Council of Governments Policy Board dinner hosted by us, May 26th at 6 p.m. That'll be in the Cranford Room.
And all board members are welcome to come.
Yes, absolutely. Dinner will be.
Dinner will be served, and I would appreciate everybody if they can make it that night.
Yep. And we'll be doing some. What's that?
Need us to RSVP?
No, y'all are already included.
You're good.
We'll make sure you're in the count. And then we have our regular meeting and our budget hearing, June 2nd at 6 p.m. And I did want to mention, it's not in the report here, but of course we are still in low inflow protocol stage 2. That means just based on Catawba Water Management and Duke Energy, they put together a plan and we have to follow it. So we do have mandatory restrictions on water usage. So just keep that in mind. Try to reduce water usage by 10%. That's our community goal.
Okay.
So,
Dan, do you have anything?
Chief Ritchie is coming to our Grow with Drexel meeting on Tuesday night, May the 19th.
Okay.
And it's just a continuation of our goal to partner with every part of the Drexel community. And we've asked Stephen to talk a little bit about how the community can partner with police chief and address some of those issues you were talking about a while ago, homelessness, drug use in the community. We're developing a series of questions to give to him ahead of time so that he can be thinking about it and all that. Also, I will mention I'll be glad to answer any questions about the May 30th concert if you wish for me to.
and I know Mr. Klein had asked, I didn't know whether y'all been approved or not for the permit.
We submitted it, but it's not been,
Okay.
I don't know exactly how they relate the approval back to us, but I've received that.
Okay.
We'll know as soon as you know, though, right?
Yeah, he'll email.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I will say the thing with the chief coming to go with Drexel, I've read the questions, a bunch of them across my text already, and it's gonna be a good chance for him to relate to the neighbors and the community. I think it's really.
Yeah, and I plan on
I'm glad he's
being
doing
there next Tuesday.
it. I'm glad he's doing it.
Okay, so now we're gonna, is that it?
That's all I have.
All right, now we need to go into closed session, correct?
That's correct.
So I have a motion to go into closed session.